The U.S. Capitol today descending into chaos as a mob of pro-Trump supporters stormed in. This breach in security now sparking serious questions. How did this happen? Earlier, I spoke with ABC News Chief Justice correspondent Pierre Thomas. Pierre, we knew that there could be trouble today. Law enforcement knew that. There was intel about that. Why was law enforcement so unprepared?
The bottom line is that there was concern that there could be violence, and the fact that those protesters, rioters, were so easily able to breach those initial barriers outside of the Capitol, then use chemical irritants, and then make their way to the Capitol building and force their way in. Usually they have so many law enforcement officials available and visible that people know not to try anything. That didn't happen today, and there will be lots of investigations going forward to see why this happened.
How are they able to finally get it under control, and what happens next from a law enforcement perspective?
Sheer manpower, Byron. At the end of the day, we had over 1,200 D.C. National Guard sent to the scene, hundreds of federal law enforcement officials sent to the scene. So they simply built up the numbers, got control of the building, and then proceeded to move around the Capitol to force the people out.
Thank you, Pierre. And to further break down this question about security, I'm joined by Brad Garrett, former FBI agent and ABC News contributor, and Jonathan Greenblatt, the CEO of the Anti-Defamation League. Gentlemen, thank you both for joining us. And Brad, first question to you. Police knew that President Trump's staunchest supporters would be protesting in Washington, yet the Capitol was overtaken. What went wrong, and what did law enforcement seem so off guard?
Completely off guard, Byron, in developing some sort of outward perimeter with force. In other words, National Guard or a tremendous number of uniformed officers to never allow the protesters to actually get physically to the Capitol. I would say the ellipse, which should have been the furthest, and that's really where the problem started. So they had the intel. Why they weren't there remains to be seen.
And Jonathan, at this point, what can you tell us about the groups of protesters who were there? Do you consider them domestic terrorists, and if so, why?
Well, this was a dark day for democracy. Our country has withstood all kinds of challenges, but never before seen an act of domestic terror perpetrated in the capital of our country. It was a who's who today of right-wing extremists, from members of the Proud Boys to the Oath Keepers, other armed militia groups, the Groyper Nation, and many other, some of the worst elements of society. You know, honestly, this was a bit of a bookend from Charlottesville to Capitol Hill, where you had white supremacists out in the open, shattering norms and really desecrating some of the most important symbols of our country.
Brad, some were questioning the speed at which law enforcement officials responded to the security breach. And ABC News is reporting the president's advisors urged him to call the National Guard right away, but he refused. What do you make of that?
I make of that he didn't want the presence of the military when people are going to the Capitol that support him. In other words, he wanted it to be open for them to literally go to the Capitol, not thinking about security or anything else. And let's face it, the Capitol Police had to deal with the security physically of Congress members, and I think that's why you saw them retreat to deal with that.
Jonathan, last question to you. President Trump leaves office in just a couple of weeks. Do you worry that these hate groups are now emboldened more than ever?
These hate groups have been emboldened since the day President Trump took office and spoke about American carnage in front of the Capitol. And we know that it's likely to get worse, not better. Tonight, there was an attack on Governor Inslee's home in the state of Washington. This itself followed the attempt to overtake the Michigan state capitol in Lansing, attempted plots to kidnap the governor of Michigan, the governor of Virginia. Look, we should recognize that right-wing extremism didn't start with President Trump, but he has amplified and expanded the issue dramatically. It's going to take the Biden administration to work incredibly hard to tackle this issue and finally wrestle it to the ground.
Gentlemen, as you've both said, a dark day for America. Thank you both.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.